Hey, Jeezy Jeezy here, ad-libbing, unrehearsed, and I want to apologize for all my rambling, especially on this head tricks series. Things just pop into my head and I don't really have a plan when I make my videos. I'm just sort of winging it, and I left out a few things, and when I was loading the videos I caught a few of my own mistakes, and there are a few things I wanted to add here. And I guess we'll call this part 5 of the head tricks review. So this is just going to be a quick review of all the things that I did cover in my series on head tricks. Repairing spark plug threads, reading the plugs, CCing the heads, valve spring tools, how to burn your garage down, how to put your eye out, changing the springs and the engine with the engine in the car, intake manifold leaks, throttle open position, valve guide replacement and tools, valve guide keepers. I did not mention specifically the number of that NGK spark plug that I was using, and it is a NGK, B as in boy, P as in Paul, 6HS, and that was recommended to me by a Volkswagen part supplier. He said it lasts longer than the Bosch plug. I just normally use the standard Bosch super plugs for years and years, had real good success with it. But if you'll, let me wrap myself around you here. If you look at the plug on the left is a bad example of a Bosch spark plug. I don't mean to put it down. It just one that I just had sitting here and I grabbed it. The one on the right is the NGK plug, and you'll notice that the porcelain sticks up. That's called a projector plug. And I'm not going to say, you know, your heat range depends on the depth of the insulator in the spark plug itself. But a projector plug is supposed to be a little bit more efficient. I haven't used it that long, but I have no complaints, and it did fit in a standard head. So that ought to be a plus for you. Let's see. When I was doing my valve spring replacement tool in the car, right here, I left out an important tidbit. You might be saying to yourself, well, how do you keep the valve up when you're trying to push down on the spring? Well, part of that kit that you get the spring compressor there and the rocker arm shaft. You also get the spark plug adapter, and what you do is you have to hook an air chuck to it, you have to put compressed air into it, and that will keep the valve closed, hopefully, while you're trying to put the new spring on. The other thing, obviously, is you'd be putting your piston to top dead center on each cylinder that you're working on, or if you've got, you know, a 4-year-old in camp that's got small fingers, you might have them just stick their finger in a spark plug hole and hold the valve closed while you're doing that. And let's see. I also wanted to touch base here. I brought this out from my office. The 6 steps to any project. Boy, isn't this the truth? Wild enthusiasm, creeping doubt, panic, search for the guilty, punishment of the innocent, awards and accolades for the non-participants. That was, I don't know, from a printer. His name was Mr. Brown. He did some business cards and stuff for me when I had my own business. And he had a lot of cool stuff at his print shop, and I enjoyed going over there. So, let's see, what else? Okay, heads in general, and speaking of, you know, why bother with all the little details? Because it's fun, number one. It helps you understand your engine. As you rebuild an engine, as you go through all the different components in an engine, you see the things that you struggle with, you feel them, you touch them. When the engine's running and you hear a noise, you're more inclined to focus on issues that you had during modifications or rebuild, and doing any of these things separately by themselves really isn't going to give you your seat of the pants meter much of an effect. You might feel like you're doing some good, but you know, just putting dual carbs on, you know, that's going to give you a little bit. Just changing the exhaust to less restrictive exhaust, that's going to be a little bit, but it's all part of a system. The stock engine in the stock car was designed at at its best, probably 57 horsepower at sea level. And when you say that you're adding 5 or 6 horsepower, that doesn't sound like a lot when you're talking about a V8 or something that puts out 300-400 horsepower. But when you're talking about a small little Volkswagen engine, that's like 10% increase, and there's no reason why you can't strive to get the most out of your engine, especially if you're in there working on it anyhow. If you have to disassemble it for some reason, but it is a whole system. And if you know you do all these little tricks on the valves and on the porting and all that, you may or may not really feel the difference. You may get in a race with your buddy who's got, you know, the same kind of engine, and he may do better. There are other things part of that system. You can get the 1.2 ratio rocker arms. You know, the stock ones. The stock ones are 1.1. So you take the lift at the cam and multiply that times 1.1. That gives you the actual lift at the valve. You put on the 1.2 ratio rockers. That's going to increase the lift, which is going to extend your RPM range, and it's going to give you a little bit better performance for sure. And 1.4 ratio rockers, I decided after years and years of hearing about them to try that in my 2-liter. And I'm real pleased with the way it's running. It's like somebody turns a light switch off at 4,000 RPM because I'm using, again, it's part of this system. I'm using stock heater boxes. I'm using stock size valves in my heads. I'm using low compression, suitable to today's gas. I'm using, I got plenty of carburetor, and you know, but you can overdo any one thing and kind of kill the system. But if your long-term plan is to gradually do these things, you might as well do everything that you can in the engine. Then you save up some money and you get that merged exhaust, and then you save up some money and you get that dual carburetor set, dual cadrons. And I kind of have a tendency to want to stay from the center mount setup that's similar to stock, just because of that long intake runner manifold. There's a lot of issues when you have the carburetor, you know, and the intake runners going through the cold and going real far out to the ends of the heads like that. V8s, you know, it's a different deal. There's a lot of heat. They have a valley, they have a plenum, and over the years they've gotten away from that and gone to fuel injection and port fuel injection. What do they call that? Real direct port injection. That new Chevy V8 is going to be awesome. And of course, I've got a Ford Lightning that came from the factory with a Eaton supercharger on it, and that just rams everything right down into the manifold. The fuel injection is close to the valve, and that's the point. To have something run smooth, getting that fuel in its best atomized state close to the intake valve is what you want to do. So anyhow, I promised myself I was going to make this short and just make it a review, and I think we've done that. So let's wait for another video, and I'll see you around. Thanks for all your subs, thanks for your views, and you know, the sad part of all this for me is I've been spending so much time trying to get this project done and document it with these videos. When I'm uploading, which takes forever, I can't watch anybody else's videos. They just stop. I just can't. My computer doesn't work. I don't know if everybody has that same experience, but it's I got to catch up on what you guys are doing, because I've been getting all my projects done and trying to share them with you guys. So that's what it's all about, and thank you very much.